As much as I'd love to say that Rafael Fiziev versus Manuel Torres is an easy fight to predict, I quite frankly don't believe that. Rafael Fiziev is very good. He's faced a lot of good competition and has had success against him. Going to decision with Justin Gaethje twice and laying a lot of damage on him yourself is impressive. A win over Ignacio Bahamondes is impressive. Especially considering the fact that the guy he's facing, Manuel Torres, the loss to Ignacio Bahamondes and Manuel Torres is very good in his own right. He's never been out of the first round. Every fight that he's been in, he's finished the guy in the first round. Two of those losses came by early in his career by submission, and the other one, like I mentioned, was against Ignacio Bahamondes, where he just got caught. And that's that. When he got caught, it was bad, right? It looked bad. He was very much out of position. He didn't look great in that fight. Just over swinging, making mistakes that if you're gonna want to beat someone like Rafael Fiziev, you quite frankly cannot make. But with that being said, he's looked very good recently. I do rate the Grant Dawson win quite highly because Grant Dawson is good. He is. We've seen it time and time again where he can give a lot of these top guys problems. But Manuel Torres shut his lights off. Manuel Torres is dangerous. And if you were to ask me maybe 2-3 fights ago, who's going to win this fight between Torres and Fiziev, I would say Fiziev with confidence. But as of late, I've seen Fiziev's durability waver a bit, getting finished by Mauricio Rufy in the second round. It's not bad, right? Because we all rate Rufy quite highly. He's a good fighter. He's very dangerous. Has good hands and has a style that's inherently gonna be a problem for Fiziev due to the fact that Fiziev stands so stationary, and at the same time, I see that being a problem in this fight as well. The thing with Muay Thai and MMA, right, which a lot of people don't understand, a lot of people want to train Muay Thai and then transition over MMA, and there's a reason you don't see that too much, is the fact that the style does not transition fantastically over into the sport of MMA, for many reasons, right? In traditional Muay Thai, you have bigger gloves, so you can have a high guard and shell up and not take as much damage. There isn't takedowns involved in the sport so you can stand very straight up, and there's no ground game to really be concerned about. And they always, a lot of the time, don't throw with a ton of power, really get out of position like they do in MMA. Something that Manuel Torres will do. He will get completely out of position, like I mentioned previously. He gets out of position. This is why he got knocked out here, because he swung very hard, and oftentimes against lower level of competition he'll find those shots there, but then he takes a step up in competition against Ignacio Bahamondes, misses that shot because Bahamondes is very good, in my opinion at least. Has had 2 losses in a row that are concerning, but he's good. He's not bad by any means, but he oversteps, he gets out of position, and gets caught by a brutal right hand. I mean, this is not a good look. As a coach, you have to fix this sort of things. I mean, he's standing straight up, chin up in the air, hands down at his waist because he missed shots, and that's not a good look. But with that being said, how do I think this fight actually plays out? It's interesting. I do think it's in a sense an easy fight to predict because you want to say that this fight ends round 1, right? No fight that Manuel Torres has ever been in has left the first round, even against higher competition, even against fights that he's lost. Though I do want to say it could be intriguing, to see. I think that Fiziev does have an underrated grappling game. We've seen him implement in the past, and Manuel Torres has had 2 submission losses. Not that I would ever predict him to get submitted here, particularly due to the fact that his 2 submission losses were both by leg locks, and so I don't see that happening. But I think if Fiziev wanted to draw out this fight in later rounds and maybe think he could have success there, I think he could. But I just don't, quite frankly, see that being a possibility of how this fight goes. I do think he's going to want to scrap in the first round, as Fiziev does. We've seen him brawl with Gaethje. We've seen him brawl with tons of fighters. And I do think he's going to feel like he has some of his durability back. He hasn't fought a little bit, I don't know exactly how long it's been off the top of my head, but it's been a little bit. I feel like he's gonna have that durability back. This is a fight where he should, in his mind, win, and I do think he's gonna try to scrap with Ignacio Bahamondes, and I don't think it's gonna go well. I think it'll probably end up being something along the lines of the Mauricio Rufy versus Rafael Fiziev fight, where in the beginning of the fight he's having a bit of success because technically he is a very good fighter, and I would never say otherwise. He is very good. He's dangerous, and he could definitely give Manuel Torres a lot of problems in this fight. And I think he will, but I just do think at this point with his durability wavering and Manuel Torres looking better and better in each fight, I do think Manuel Torres will catch him and put him out of there badly. And I do think it'll be later in the fight. Honestly, I do think this fight goes to the second round. I think both of them knowing that this is a 5-round fight, and if you don't get out of the first round, you're dead gas from trying to finish the other fighter in the first round. You might be in trouble. So I do think Manuel Torres, knowing this is his first 5-round fight in the UFC, and he has to be a little more patient against Fiziev, who's experienced and durable. He's gonna try to maintain his gas tank a bit better, and I think he'll end up getting a finish in the second round by TKO. And if you want my exact prediction how it happens, I think he's going to throw a right hand down the pipe exactly like Mauricio Rufy did after getting backed up, like he did against plenty of other fighters as well, like he did against Drew Dober, like he did against Grant Dawson. And he's going to find that shot that he finds nearly every time and put Rafael Fiziev out of there. Looking down the rest of this card, co-main event, Shara Magomedov versus Michel Pereira. I truthfully do think this is quite an easy fight to pick. I'm going to have to ride Shara Magomedov. I think he's just overall, as of late, been more impressive. Yes, he's had some losses here and there. It happens. I do think he's overall quite impressive. Very good on the feet. It's going to be in his home territory. So if this goes to a decision, he's going to get the nod. Michel Pereira coming off a win. But before that, like 3 or 4 bad losses. I can't ride with him confidently. Bad cardio, bad gas tank. Not good there. Nazim Sadykhov, one of my more confident picks on this entire card. I think he's very impressive. This week taking on Mateus Camilo, not great. Has had some losses. I think Nazim Sadykhov is a very, very good fighter at 155. Can make a run. I think maybe this win and another gets him in the rankings, very close to the rankings. Overall, a very good fighter. Looking forward to this one. Like I said, one of my more confident picks this week. And an underdog here, Charles Johnson. I am picking Charles Johnson. Listen, I will say, before you go betting all your money on it, before I go bet all my money on it, this is a bit of a biased pick. I like Charles Johnson a lot. I have overall not been super impressed with Asu Amabayev. He's had some good wins. He has a win over Jose Ochoa, who I really like. But listen, and it's an impressive win, but he was really struggling to hold down Jose Ochoa. And Jose Ochoa was very young, very fresh, 24 years old at the time. And he's got Charles Johnson in front of him, who's very crafty, older, experienced, tricky, hits very hard. And I can see him giving a lot of problems to Amabayev on the feet. Not even to mention, the size difference is absolutely crazy. 5 inches reach, 5 inches height. And Charles Johnson's game for all 3 rounds. I don't see him getting held down for 3 rounds. It's just, and I don't see Asu sliming Charles out on the feet like someone like Alex Perez did. I think this is a very good matchup for Charles Johnson to get a statement win in the rankings. Just a underdog pick there. Moving down, Ikram Aliskerov versus Bruno Ferreira. If the Gregory Rodriguez TKO, or knockout, not TKO, but knockout, hadn't just happened 2 or 3 months ago, I would maybe pick Bruno Ferreira. But with that being said, I just kind of can't, coming that fresh, that off that recent of a KO, I can't take you to go out there and get a win. So on the opposite side, I'm taking Ikram Aliskerov to get a win here. I think it'll maybe be a decision. I don't see him, maybe a decision, maybe a knockout. I don't really see him losing to Bruno Ferreira here. I just think, especially after that Robert Whittaker loss, he's going to have to go back and look at what's going on with him, fix some problems. And Bruno Ferreira is just jumping back in there way too quick, in my opinion. So I see him losing here. Abus Magomedov taking on Mikhail Alsaychuk, who has been training with the Fighting Nerds quite a bit, I think. But he's taking on Abus here. And Abus, he's a very solid fighter. Gave, Sean Strickland some problems round 1. Gave Joe Pyfer some problems round 1. He's decent, If he can implement his game plan well, he will give you a lot of problems and he will likely beat you. And I do think this is the sort of fight where he's going to be able to implement his game plan. He's going to do what he wants in this fight. He's going to dictate where this fight goes, if it's on the feet or if it's on the ground. Mikhail, I just don't see this being a great matchup for him. I think Abus actually gets a finish here. I take him by submission in this fight. Tricky pick there. Eric Nolan versus Farman Hasanov. I'm picking Eric Nolan. I don't really know much about this other guy, but I like Eric Nolan a lot. Don't bet on this fight. You know what I mean? But I'm taking Eric Nolan here. He impressed me. His last fight, he did lose. He got finished by by Susakaev, but Susakaev is decent, and he took that fight on really short notice, and he almost knocked out Susakaev round 1, and that was up at weight class at 185. You know, I mean, so all these sorts of things. You know, he's down at his actual weight class now at 170. I'm taking him by a brutal knockout. If you watch this guy's like tape on from past fights from him, he's got heavy hands and he can slime people out. Julius Walker taking on Mr. Beast. I'm picking Mr. Beast over here. Listen though, he's a big favorite, and for absolutely no reason. This is a tricky fight, and if it goes past round 1, that's the sort of place where you live bet Julius Walker, because, you know, yes, Julius Walker has had some losses. He in his debut fight, he lost to Lonzo Menafield, but you know, competitive fight, sloppy though. And Abdul, he's not. I don't know. He's 9-0, but I just don't find him to be the type of guy that's going to ever touch the belt. You know what I mean? Like, people like, he's a giant favorite for no reason, just because he hasn't lost yet. Julius Walker has. Like, if this goes out of round 1, and he can't knock out Julius Walker, which there's a very solid chance he can't, it could go bad for him. But I'm going to pick Abdul all the same. I do think he's going to get that round 1 KO. Maybe round 2. Nursultan Ruzaboyev taking on Andrei Pulayev. I'm going to pick Ruzaboyev. Believe it or not, I kind of do believe this is a bit of a trickier fight for Pulayev than, or worse matchup for Pulayev than Ateba Gauthier would be. Even though, you know, he did still lose that fight. He was giving Ateba a lot of problems by just not getting knocked out like Ateba did to literally everyone else. But Ruzaboyev is very big. He's game. He's gonna give you a scrap, and I don't think either of them gonna finish. I think Ruzaboyev maybe wins the decision, because both of them are very durable. Pulayev clearly very durable. You know, not getting knocked out by Ateba, it's impressive. Landing a lot of his own shots. Like, he landed a lot of shots on Ateba, just not with a ton of power behind them. And then before this fight, I forget who he fought, Pulayev. He was also a small underdog in that one. I remember picking him there and getting that one right. And off the top of my head, I can't remember who it was against, but it was an impressive win. I do remember that. Khan Ofli taking on Javier Reyes. I'm riding with the underdog, Khan Ofli. I love Khan Ofli. Listen, Khan Ofli is just one of those niche fighters that I love for whatever reason. Whenever he fights, I just get excited. I'm like, I like this kid. He's just fun. He wants to scrap a little bit. Taking on Javier Reyes, though, it's a very dangerous fight. But if he doesn't get knocked out, he's winning, if that makes sense. If he doesn't lose, he's going to win. No, but if he doesn't get knocked out by Javier Reyes, like, I don't know. I think he just has to implement a forward pressure type of game. He can't get backed up against the fence. He's got to be in Javier Reyes' face, trying to mix it up. I do think Khan Ofli wins this, though. I think he's a solid underdog to pick here. Not a very big underdog. He's plus 140, but still, I do think he wins. Danilo Danchenko, very impressive. 14-2, coming off a bunch of brutal, vicious knockout wins, and he's getting another one here. This is just, they're kind of feeding him. You guys can't see the odds there. You can see it now for a second. But they're kind of feeding him a free win here. Danilo Danchenko, round 1 KO. Simple as that. Last fight I'm going to look at is Jean Matsumoto taking on Beksat Almakhan. Jean Matsumoto lost his last fight, but I do think he's very, very good. Beksat just he's the one who lost to Alexandre Topuria, and though he did lose that, he looked all right, but I don't know. I don't rate Topuria too highly, and I think Jean Matsumoto beat Alexandre Topuria. I'm picking Jean Matsumoto here by decision. Honestly, relatively confident. I do think he wins this fight. Those are all my picks for the card. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that shit. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. And and the Conor McGregor video I just released is doing really well, so go take a look at that. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Peace.